Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at a very useful application called Photoshop Fix, which I really enjoy and can find many uses for. So let's go ahead and open this up. Alright, so as soon as you open Photoshop Fix, we have the opportunity to see what kind of images are on my phone. Very similar to other Photoshop mobile applications, we can see the recently added, panoramas, bursts, selfies, screenshots, Instagram, Snapseed, all the different apps that I've got that are able to capture images. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go into the recents here. And the first one that I'm going to use is this image of this mask. And the second one is of this image of this young man, which I will get to a little bit later on. Okay, so first, let's open up this image of this mask. All right, so opening up, we have our different menu items and different things that we can do to adjust this image. At the top, we have the go back. It'll go back to my projects. I'll just open my project. The next one, we have info, which will display the size of the image, which is very, very useful. It has the edit date. The next one that we have there is how we're going to save it, or if we're going to send it to Photoshop CC on the computer, or save it to Lightroom, etc., etc. The next one is if we have layers, and then over here we have a chance to do redo and undo, and we can expand the screen so it's a full screen. So I'm just going to turn that off. Down at the bottom, we have the common tools that we see in a lot of Adobe applications. We've got crop, we've got adjust, liquify, healing, smooth, light, color, paint, defocus, and vignette. So for this image, basically my wife asked me to take pictures of some masks that she's creating, and I also want to upload a video to YouTube. So I thought it would be a perfect opportunity to just kill two birds with one stone. If you don't know what that expression means, it just means to do two things at once. So I do want to take this image, which I think is pretty much there. I just need to do a couple adjustments on the tone and probably crop it a little bit and work on the light or something like that. So First half of this video, we're going to look at the basic features, and in the second half of this video, we're going to go into some of the portrait. Okay, so first, crop. Now, I don't really want to work with crop. Usually, cropping is something that I do last, so I find this very interesting that Photoshop Fix is actually putting this at the beginning of the application and process. Again, this is something that I would do last before I'm ready to export it. Next, adjust. Absolutely. Once we go to adjust, we see that we can adjust the exposure, the contrast, warmth, saturation, shadows, highlights. Okay. It's a very simple slider. And once we move into these adjustments here, we see the opportunity that we can do this before and after too, which I'll get to after we make some adjustments. So exposure, what is exposure dealing with? Exposure is going to be dealing with the midtones. So we might want to bump the midtones just a little bit here. Okay, which I like there. Contrast, I'm not really going to deal with contrast. I don't like contrast, but if you like to increase the contrast, that's perfectly fine. You can do that on your own image. Warmth will be kind of like this color balance between cool and warm. So to the left, it's going to be a little bit blue, and to the right, it's going to be a little bit yellow. I'm going to undo that because I think my temperature is fine here. Saturation, if you want to boost the saturation. I don't think I want to boost the saturation there, but that's there for you if you need it. Shadows could be nice if we want to boost the details in the shadows. Let's try that. Let's move it to the right a little bit. I'm not seeing a whole lot there. I'm going to zoom in on this image here. it is working a little bit here. You can see here in the details there of the lion that it's opening up some of the detail there. And I do like it a little bit. I like to have detail in my shadows. So I'm going to go with about that much right there. Moving over to the highlights. Okay, I want to look at the main image first. Those highlights. So I might boost the highlights just a tad. So this is one way that I like to control contrast, is working with the shadows and the highlights rather than using the sort of automated feature of contrast. So I like that right there. That's pretty good. And that's it for the adjustments there. So I did exposure, working with the midtones. I did shadows, working with those darker areas, opening them up a little bit, giving a little bit more detail in the shadows. And in the highlights, I increased the highlight value a little bit. Okay, so before I click OK, I'm just going to show you a before and after there. So that's what it looks like before, and that's what it looks like after there. So a little bit of a boost. So I'm going to click OK there, and that finalizes my corrections. Liquify, we're not going to be looking into liquify. We'll do that with the next image. Healing, we're not going to do that here. Smooth, we're not going to do smooth here. Light, I could do a little bit of light here. So basically what these light and darken functions are like is they're very similar to like burning and dodging. So lighten is going to be like dodging, if you're familiar with dodging in the full version of Photoshop, and burning is going to be similar to darken. Now, because I used a single light, a single window light on the right here, it's a little bit brighter than the left. So I do want to play with this lighten on the left side. So let's click on this, this brush here on the side. Size, this is going to show us the size of the brush, and scrolling up or down, you can get the size of the brush. Now I want a pretty large brush here because I'm going to be doing that whole left side. Hardness, I do same thing. Up is going to give you a hardness of 100%, and then going down is going to give you a hardness of about 0%. I'm going to try that. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to lighten this image. And look, as I'm painting it, it's giving us this sort of a green mask. So this is showing me what area has been masked out or is going to be affected by that, that lighten feature. So I'll undo it, and you can see there that it has, there's the before and there's the after. I really quite like that. Down at the bottom, we can see opacity. So the opacity, I'm just going to leave it at where it is. And then the last one, there is your mask. So you can, or the area that you're going to be applying that lighten to. So I find it quite nice. I think this is very interesting. Down at the bottom here, we have restore. So restore would be, let's say I wanted to kind of erase some of those. So I'll click on restore. I'll click on a smaller brush size. Maybe I want to go ahead and take some of that mask away from the straps. There's the mask right there that we've painted around. I left it a little bit sloppy using that restore. And as we turn that off, we can see the image here affected. So that's just to show you that you can kind of restore your mask that you had been painting and working on. Now, I'm going to undo that because I don't quite like that so much. Let's go back a couple times. The next little feature that we have here in under the light and darken feature is structure. If I tap on structure, it's going to add a little bit of contrast and even sharpness here to it. It could be useful for things that you wish to do, but I don't like that for this image, but it is there for you. Next, we'll move on to color. Under color, we have the opportunity to saturate or desaturate an area. Let's say you decided that you wanted this lion to be black and white. So to desaturate, I would just choose an area, choose the size of your brush. Remember that brushes will be larger by scrolling up, and the brushes will be smaller by scrolling down. I'm going to choose a large brush. Hardness is at 100%. I'm going to bring it down to, I don't know, about 20%. That just sounds good to me. And then opacity, if you want the opacity to be, 100% or 25% of the brush that you're using. I think 25% is probably pretty good. But if we want to see maximum desaturation, I'm going to go to 100%. Okay, so let's go ahead and paint there. All right, so we get a little red mask here for this, and then this should just completely desaturate that lion. And there it is. It's now a black and white lion. Okay? It could be interesting if you wanted to desaturate an area or to saturate an area. All right, let's go back. The last little setting here is pop. So pop is just going to be an automatic pop. Giving it automatic saturation to the image, so popping the colors a little bit. Now this is a repeatable process, so you could just continue to pop, 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 and it just gets crazy with the colors. Now of course I don't like that, so I'm gonna stop that. I got a little crazy there. Paint. All right. So paint could be useful. Here you can create different size brushes, different hardnesses. So obviously if you wanted a hard color, you'd want hardness of 100%. Opacity, you also want that to be 100% if you're going to create a hard like marker line or pencil line. Okay, and then color, we can come down here and we can choose any color that we want this way and just create like a line there. All right, so what just happened there? We have a hard brush, we have opacity of 100%, but it's transparent. Why is that? Well, that's because we have this blend down at the bottom. So we can just turn that on and off to blend that color into the image. Pick a color is interesting because you're going to be doing like the eyedropper in Photoshop. And let's say I like that blue, so I can pick that blue, or if I like that orange, I can pick that orange, etc. So really nice that we can sample different colors from an image and incorporate that in there. All right, let's get out of that. Defocus, vignette, I'm not going to go into those. Here we have a fairly complete image that I'm ready to export. Well, just about. I want to kind of check the proportion, the cropping, and that sort of thing before I export it and send it to my wife so that she can use it for her website to be able to sell these masks. Okay, so let's go over here to crop. Under the crop section, we can rotate the image, we can flip it horizontally, we can flip it vertically, we can do a free crop, we can do original, we can make it into a square, which I don't like because it's going to crop off those straps there. I don't like 5:4, 4:3 is not bad actually. It crops it just a little bit to leave those straps in there. So some different, yeah, what else do we got there? 3:2 or 16:9. So I don't know. I think we're good. I'm just going to go ahead and send it like this to my wife. So how do you export it? You would go over here. You can save it to your camera roll. You can save it to Lightroom, save it to your CC library. You can send it to Facebook, Instagram, send to Photoshop. You can share. And when you share, you see here that I can send it to my iMac. I can send it as a text to my mom, and I could send it to, you know, all kinds of different people here that are in my list. So that is pretty cool. Pretty cool. So it's ready to be exported to my wife. Okay, next project. I'm going to be going over here to this portrait. Okay, so it said that Photoshop Fix could not handle it, but it did. This is a file that I took on a Leica medium format camera, the Leica S. It was a really cool opportunity. I borrowed a camera from Leica Korea, and I took this picture of the Korean model Han Hyun-min, who at the time was an up-and-coming model. His mother's Korean and his father is African. So really cool, really cool that I had an opportunity to photograph him, and I'm just really proud of being able to do that. But I wanted to open this up because I think Photoshop Fix is really good for portraits. So again, we've got our adjust. If we wanted to adjust the exposure, the contrast, the warmth, saturation, shadows, highlights, I do think I want to probably bring his skin tones, open them up a little bit with the exposure. The warmth I think is pretty good. I like the warmth of his skin. I'm going to leave contrast alone. I don't like that. I don't like saturation on portraits. For shadows, maybe I want to open up the shadows, especially in his hair, so that it brings out the detail in his hair. Just a little bit there. Highlights, we go over to highlights. Maybe just a little bit. And now that I've done all that, I might want to change the color balance because I think it's touching the skin tones a little bit too much. Maybe I'll cool it down. Just a hair. Just a hair. Okay. And then I'll click OK. All right. Next, do we want to go into liquify? Oh, I don't think I want to go into liquify. Liquify could be, all right, it is a face. So do we want to warp the face? I don't like this. Yeah, look at that. I mean, that's terrible, right? You're doing swell there. I hate that. No. No, thank you for my portraits. No, thank you for my portraits. Warp. Okay. Oh, no, thank you. I mean, you guys might like it, but no, thank you. Undo. Face could be cool because you're going to be maybe moving the distance around of the different things. So, for example, with face, I can move the distance of the eyes. Okay. Size, if you want to increase the size of the eyes. Okay. If you want to tilt the eyes. Okay. The height of the eyes. The width of the eyes. Okay, I hate this, but it's cool that it's there. It's cool that it's there. Now, we can do this for other areas. We can do this on the lips. So as you can see from here with the face, we can do the nose, we can do the cheeks, we can do the lips, and we can do the forehead and the chin. So I think it's interesting that we can fine-tune the features of a face like this in Photoshop. It's not something that I like to do because I like my image to be as true to the original image as possible. Okay. Healing, we could do healing. Healing could be nice, and we're going to get to this later. Smooth, we'll get to that later. Light. So with the lighten, I might actually want to lighten up his eyes so that it's a little bit easier to see his eyes. Let's choose a brush that's going to be the appropriate size. Probably go a little bit smaller. And choose a hardness. Soft is good. Maybe we'll go to 30%. The opacity 24 is okay. And then I'll just try to go in there and lighten his eyes up a little bit. Not too bad, not too bad. Let's move over here to this other eye and lighten that up a little bit. Not too bad. Okay. Structure, we saw structure before. Structure is going to just make everything a little bit sharper and a little bit more contrasty. I'm not going to do that for this image. Color, I'm not going to do that for this image. I like the color in this image. Paint, I'm not going to do that for this image. Defocus, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, defocus, I'm not going to do that in this image. Let's move over to smooth. Smooth could be really nice for the face, for example. Like this image is really, it should be really sharp because it's a medium format camera, so the files are really large, as you can see here. Whoops. We can just choose face, and it's going to automatically choose for us. Let's look at this little mask here. So this mask here is automatically going to smoothen out those areas of the skin. And then other things like the lips and the eyes, which you want to be in focus, they are not going to be masked out. So it's only going to be affecting those areas, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So there we go. Automatic on the face. We can see the before and after. So it really corrects a lot of those facial blemishes, right? So it makes it kind of nice. It gives him a little bit of a makeup job there. I think what I would do, though, is probably go to the healing first. The healing, we have spot heal, clone stamp, fix red eye. And I'm liking these features a lot. So let's come over here to spot heal. We can choose the size. It's always good to find a brush that's slightly a little bit larger than the area that you want to get fixed. And then the hardness, 40, I think is pretty good. So I'll click there. And spot heal is going to hit that area really nicely. Okay, move over there. Just like with any of the other Photoshop applications, we can paint an area that's going to get fixed. So that's spot heal. I think clone is pretty neat because we could say we like this area right here, and then I can start to use that area to kind of paint this area over here. Now be careful, because do you see this black area over here to the left of this? It's actually trying to paint that over there. Do you see that there? So I don't think that's a good idea to do. Going down here, let's say I like this area around his nose, so I'll select that, and then I'll start to paint this area over here that I want to fix. Not bad. Okay, choose the brush again, move over to a different area. I like this area of his skin here. Maybe I'll move down a little bit lower down here, and then I can paint on his face over there. See how I made it a little bit lighter over there? For the most part, I think I like spot heal the most. I'll select an area and then choose my brush size that's appropriate to the area that needs to be fixed. And it's going to fix the area that is kind of around that shape. Patch. So patch works very similar to the patch tool. Do you see how as I scroll around, it's going to be trying to blend it in with the area that I select, like right there. Not bad, not bad. So let's go back to that nose over here. I'll use a spot heal right here, and then maybe the spot heal here, and then I changed the patch, but I'll move it to this kind of an area, which does a better job of fixing that. Spot heal again, right here, and I'll use the patch tool to select from a different area to try to fill in there. We get the preview, which is really nice, like that. So not bad, not bad. I like it. Coming down here, we got this little pimple or whatever down here, and I can use the patch tool to kind of come over to a different area, select that, and then view it like this. Probably fix up this area up here at the top. Patch tool, spot heal, patch. Okay, click OK. All right, after we have done our healing onto the face, then we might want to move over to the smooth feature. Smooth is pretty nice. With the smooth and the sharpen, we can select individual areas. For example, like I usually like to sharpen my eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here to the eye. And with the sharpen, I'll come over here to a size brush that's just enough to kind of outline the edges around the eye and the eyeball itself. And hardness, let's go ahead and keep it 100%. So let's go ahead and just trace that. So I'll just come in here, and that green is going to tell me which area is going to get sharpened. So I just want to trace the eyeball there, and then also trace the actual physical eye, the pupil. All right, so we can do a quick preview there, before and after. So as you can see, it sharpened it a little bit around those eyes. I also like to sharpen things like eyebrows because it's hair. Hair should be sharp. Scroll over to the other eye and do the same thing around this eye. And then let's go ahead and do that with this eyebrow. I also like to sharpen features maybe around the nose. Those lines should be sharp. I usually like my lips to be hard, especially on men. Usually like them to be a little bit harder. Okay. So let's look at this at like the full screen view before and after. Before and after. You can see the difference there. I'll probably go in and maybe sharpen the hair as well. I just like my hair to be crisp. And that's pretty good. Areas that you may want to soften, so we'll go over to smooth. Going over to smooth, I'll probably choose a larger brush because I'm going to choose a larger area. So 56 point size brush is the largest I can get here. Softness or hardness here, whichever way you want to look at it, I'm going to get something soft. Opacity 50 or maybe 25. Let's start with 25 and get in there. And so you can see the softness is going to be this kind of red color. The hardness is going to be that green color. So softness is going to kind of smooth the face a little bit more. Moving over to this area, smooth out the cheeks a little bit, and maybe smooth out this area around the nose a little bit. Maybe down in the chin a little bit. Just smooth that area out a little bit. Okay. So there we go. That looks really nice right there. I like that. So I've done portrait retouching on the this portrait that I took. Pretty cool. Before, there's the before, and there's the after. Look at the hair. That is awesome. I love the sharpness around the hair that much. I love it a lot better. So I'm going to click OK on that. That's fantastic. I'm ready to upload that. I love that. Yeah, I can't complain. I like that. If I want to, I can save it to the camera roll. There it is at first, right? We see things like blemishes around the face. Over here, we've kind of smoothed it out a little bit. I like it. It looks good. Now, you might wonder what is defocus. So defocus is going to be taking an area and putting it out of focus. So what I might choose to do with the defocus is to make it seem like I'm using a little bit wider aperture. Maybe I'll try to take the ears out of focus and also his sweater. I'll choose a large brush here again, 56. Hardness, let's go down to 25 again. Opacity, we'll leave it like it is. And let's start to just defocus. I don't like that. It's kind of like this Olin Mills dreamy kind of a look that they give. It also reminds me of these filters that we used to use back in the 90s to kind of make things a little dreamy. Yeah, I don't like that. I'm going to cancel that. Vignetting. Vignetting can be nice if you like to have like these black edges. It's good if you're using a wide angle lens that has natural vignetting, and then you can kind of cancel it out by choosing a white vignette, choosing white color and doing that, but I'm not using a wide angle lens here, so I'm not going to do that. Oh, it changed the color anyways. This is what vignetting is right here. It's trying to focus more on the center object, but when we use a very minimal amount of vignetting, it can be nice to help bring the focus in onto the center subject. I think I'm just going to leave it off for this image. Last thing I want to do is I want to try to open it in Photoshop. So I'm going to send it to Photoshop CC. Rendering as a PSD. All right, here's the file opened up. First, the different layers that have opened up. We have the heel. This is what's happened with the heel here, the before and after. Then we have the smooth. This is what smoothed up the skin tones. And here's the mask for the sharpen. This is the mask for the smooth. I mean, it's simple, but it's there. And we can work on it further there in Photoshop after exporting it to our computer. So there we go. We came into Photoshop Fix not knowing much about it. With some experience in the Photoshop mobile applications, I think it's pretty easy to figure out how Photoshop Fix works. And I think there's a lot of great potential for professional photographers to be able to use this to edit any kind of images, especially portraits. Portraits are just wonderful in this app. And you're able to export this to the Photoshop CC on the desktop so that you can edit the different layers and just continue to work on the image even more from there. Thanks for watching, and please stay tuned as we look into more tutorials on different software and apps. Also, feel free to stop by my website, www.leesmathersphotography.com. to see more of my work and examples and possibly contact me to do your wedding or real estate photography. Thanks guys, I'll see you next time.